No way, dude. I saw this tweet, this made its way onto my timeline, and I was so bamboozled flabbergasted that I had to go out there and do some research. So, this was published on Leafs' latest Twitter account, talking about Toronto Maple Leafs superstar forward Mitch Marner, and how, according to Justin Bourne, he prefers to stay with the Leafs and become a UFA, with his camp promoting this idea publicly. This tweet had a whole bunch of engagement, 300,000 views, 144 angry replies, a whole bunch of quote tweets, and a bunch of people bookmarking and liking this because, of course, the idea that Mitch Marner would want to walk straight to free agency and actually have this outcome as his preference is kind of mind-blowing because now, okay, the Toronto Maple Leafs are in a pretty tough spot. They're in a new coaching regime. They've got this superstar player that doesn't show up in the playoffs and who has been under the microscope for years now, only for that microscope to be ultra 3, 4, 5 times zoomed in after this year's playoff performance. Mitch Marner, on the last year of a $10.9 million AAV deal at 27 years old, seemingly wants to walk right to UFA status. Now, when it comes to the overall profile, I mean, we all recognize what Marner is. 3 points, 7 games played in the playoffs, 85 points, 69 games, very nice amount of games in the regular season. He's a talented player, he can get points, but that point production goes away when the postseason begins. Even in this series against the Boston Bruins, Marner scored a beautiful goal, and that was about it. Now, he did make a few nice passes, etc. too, but really, when Marner needs to show up, he does not end up showing up, and he went pointless in the final 2 games for Toronto. The team just cannot score any goals when they're in the playoffs. It's a very bizarre outcome. But when it comes to this tweet that went viral, I initially met it with a bunch of skepticism. I was like, okay, wait, really? Like, where did Bourne go out there and write about this? And so I did my research and decided to check out this article on sportsnet.ca evaluating what everyone in the trade Marner debate might want. Because this Justin Bourne piece goes out there and breaks everything down. I'll leave a link in the description to this article. It's a pretty big one. There's a lot of stuff here, so I wanted to go out there and shout this one out here. But let's go out there and read the UFA talk and how Marner and his camp apparently would like this, because this tweet seems a little bit misleading at first, right? Well, let's go out there and see this. It's with that in mind I wanted to talk about Mitch Marner and the entire quagmire regarding him, which has been so heavily covered the past few weeks. We all know who the major players are and the direction-altering decision the Leafs face here, and the individual motivations of those people are going to determine how this plays out. Yes, it's Marner himself, but it's also Shanahan, Trevelling, and now Craig Berube and Keith Pelly too. We'll keep it focused on those names, even though there's obviously more, such as Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, and his dad, which Bourne does not write here, but I'm going to fill in the blanks here. Yeah, his dad. Let's go out there and read what would Mitch Marner want. The best case for Marner is unequivocally that he stays in Toronto and wins a Stanley Cup as the hometown hero who persevered through the hard times when everybody said he couldn't. By staying and chasing that goal, any outcome would suit him beautifully. He either succeeds and is a lifelong legend in Toronto and gets paid to stay, or he fails and is walked right to UFA status where he'd handpick a new team in the prime of his career while getting a massive contract. The only way it would make sense to do anything other than chase this scenario is if he gets to go exactly where he would have chosen to sign in free agency immediately in a trade and with the extension that he wants. That way he wouldn't have to endure a hellish year under the microscope in Toronto and get his vindication tour started a skosh earlier. But hard as that might be, make no mistake, the motto in Team Marner's head is stay and play and go UFA. Oh boy. Justin Bourne dropping the bombshells here, analyzing the Marner situation and concluding that in Mitch Marner's party's opinion, the best course of action here would be to go straight to free agency if they're not able to work out on some sort of a big bad extension. Now, of course, Mitch Marner taking whatever dollar amount he can get on the open market, it's going to be huge, and the Toronto Maple Leafs most likely will not have the ability to match whatever dollar amount it is that he gets. So, if he is able to sign some sort of an extension in Toronto, he would have to take a discount, right? But with Mitch Marner and the contract, with his dad in the mix, with the patterns that we have seen with Marner over the past few years, there is no way this guy is re-signing in Toronto at a discount. There's going to have to be some big heavy lifting dollar-wise if the Maple Leafs want to get this contract done. So even though the main what would Mitch Marner want conclusion is that he would stay in Toronto and win a Stanley Cup, the fact is, it's not guaranteed. So if he does not do that, if he does not stick around, he doesn't win the Stanley Cup, then the other option is he goes to free agency and he picks a new team. Either that, or he gets traded to whichever team he would have chosen anyway. So with this in mind, I mean, this tweet isn't really all too misleading if you actually read the article, because if it's not stay, it's going to be UFA. Marner prefers to stay with the Leafs and become a UFA, with his camp promoting this idea publicly. Now, as I had said, the rest of the article goes out there and talks about the different perspectives. What would Brendan Shanahan want? What would Brad Treliving want? What would Craig Berube want? Etc., etc. There's a lot of this over here. What does this all mean? If you've been listening to Canada's Hockey Insiders the past couple of days, it's clear Camp Marner has started to spread the word of what they would like to see happen. He wants to stay and play to go UFA, and so now they're floating those trial balloons to the public through myriad channels to get people to warm up to the idea. And I can't shake the reality, in the words above, that one vision lines up cleanly with the interests of most parties involved. That's the version of this story where Marner's best case scenario is to stay with the Leafs and have great team success next season. In that scenario, Pelly would get what he wants, Shanahan would be vindicated, Berube would look like a hero, and maybe they'd even extend and keep a player in Marner who fans suddenly say, oh, he can produce in the playoffs. Yes, let's keep this guy. I can't believe we almost traded him. There are some examples where I think this sentiment did happen. Like JT Miller, for example, is the big one that comes to my mind right away, where a lot of Canucks fans wanted to see him out. He was essentially a Pittsburgh Penguin, and then the Canucks didn't trade him. 1 year later, he's a 100-point guy. He is the most consistent forward as the Canucks make the playoffs, and he is a hero. Marner needs to go through some sort of a redemption if he wants to have some sort of a similar outcome. It's possible that Marner goes out there and actually starts producing in the Stanley Cup playoffs in ways that he had not in the past. It's possible, but is it likely? I'm not all too sure. So with this Marner idea being tossed out there by Justin Bourne, saying that if he doesn't stay with the Leafs, his preference is to be a UFA, walk straight to free agency, and have the Maple Leafs lose him out for nothing, then, yeah, no, there's a lot going on here, I think, that can be discussed. Janaea responds, he is really on his way to becoming the most hated Leaf of all time. The rational side of my brain, Marie says, is telling me I have no right to be mad at the player. I should direct my anger at management for waiting too long to pull the trigger on a trade or giving him a no-move clause. But my emotional side wants to fire this man baby into the sun. This seems unlikely. This will hurt the Leafs by getting nothing back. He's getting 120 points next year. If this is the case, I think you just sit him entirely. It's clear he is not interested in a fair market negotiation. I really don't see an issue with having him out either. It gives us an opportunity to promote more guys in the lineup and see what we have available. Now, I think this is a really extreme example. Hey, sit him out for the entire season because he's not going to take any sort of a fair deal. But I do acknowledge that the fair deal, quote-unquote, may not be happening here with Marner. I mean, we had come to this conclusion in prior videos, but the guy was overpaid in his last contract at 10.9 mil. There's no way he's gonna not get overpaid on his next contract, considering the status that has already been attained by Marner signing that $10.9 million deal in the first place. Has he been a top elite player? Yes, but has he been second most paid winger in the entire NHL worthy? Probably not. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. From Justin Bourne's perspective, he is writing about how Mitch Marner's preference is to stay with the Leafs and become a UFA. How does this make you feel? How alarming is this in your opinion? What are your thoughts as to how the entire Marner situation is going to go? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.